feeling lonesome, I have nowhere else to go now. I don't really have a place to call my home now. Everybody hating on, I feel so cold now. Why do everybody make me feel alone? Like I'm feeling lonesome, I have nowhere else to go now. I don't really have a place to call my home.
I didn't get all of the details, but apparently he and the two others left the village. I think it has something to do with the Akatsuki, and the agent said, looking at Jiraiya. When the elderly heard this, he became a little nervous about tired not show it. The Akatsuki, I wonder what they want with Naruto. Is it possible that they were sent to attack the Akatsuki? No. From what I've heard, the leader. No. I've heard that the leader of Taki is what kind of person. I don't think he intentionally sent Genin's team for a suicide mission, Jiraiya thought to himself. As he looked at the agent, how long ago did they leave? Jiraiya asked, turning his attention to the agent beside him. 3 days ago, the man said, as he finished eating the small dango. He then placed a few reals on the counter and stood up. When did Jiraiya marked his actions, and two began to walk down the streets. 3 days, huh? Do you know how long they'll be staying there? Jiraiya asked, looking at the mail in front of him. No, the agent said at Jiraiya. When he said this, the white-haired male began to once again think to himself, if that's the case, then they may already be gone by the time I get there. There's also no way of telling where they went from there. I'll just have to wait and hope one of my scouts get lucky. Even so, I guess it couldn't hurt if I went there. If Naruto is there, then I may be able to provide him with some bit of training, Jiraiya thought as he continued to walk down the streets. Jiraiya then stopped and looked at the man had been walking beside him. Thank you for your information. Let's meet here again in 6 months' time. I'm meeting time. I want you to see what information you can gather about the Akatsuki, Jiraiya said, looking at the male in front of him. The male nodded when he said this, and the two began to go their separate ways. Fairbell isn't that far away, but they left 3 days ago. Without knowing how long they were going to stay, it's possible they gotten what they needed and left. Even so, I should probably go just to make sure, Jiraiya thought as he began to walk through the small set of woods. The three figures of Taki's former Team 12 were walking down the small path through the forest. The sun was finally starting to set, so the air was starting to become more little thicker and colder, making it easier for the three to continue. As the three walked, Shiro finally thought of something he could say to break the silence. Naruto, mind if I ask you a question? Shiro asked, looking at the blonde figure in front of him. Sure, Naruto said, looking at Shiro, a little confused. You're from Konoha, right? Shiro asked, looking at him. Naruto nodded when he asked this. Shiro looked at him. If we were to return to Konoha, is there anyone you would want to see? Shiro asked, looking at Naruto. When he asked this, the blonde closed his eyes. He began to think for a moment. Yeah, there is 3 people I would want to see. I want to see Iruka, the old man, Ichiraku ramen guy, Naruto said, looking at the two in front of them. Oh, fool question. As she turned her attention to Naruto. Who are they? Fool asked, a little curious. After all, she had never really thought to ask Naruto this, because she knew that he didn't want to return to Konoha. Well, Iruka was sort of like a father to me. In fact, I think he might have been the only shinobi in the entire village besides the old man that cared about me. He visited me most of the time to make sure I was okay and even to take me out to Ichiraku. on special occasions, Naruto said, as he remembered the meal the fauns. Well, that was nice of him, Fu said, giving the blonde a smile. Yeah, Naruto said, a little sad. However, he quickly hid his sadness and continued. The old man was something like a grandfather to me. He was overprotective of me. Any time he was around, I was always so at ease. Like no matter what happened, that as long as he was around, he was going to keep me safe. Naruto said, as once again found himself thinking of the elderly male. I see, Shiro said, as he turned to look at Naruto. And the last one? Shiro asked, little interested. Ichiraku ramen guy? Well, he was the owner of the Ichiraku ramen shop. Name was Ichiraku. He served some the best ramens I've ever had, Naruto said, looking at the two in front of him. I thought you didn't like ramen, Fu asked, looking at the meal in front of him. I don't, Naruto said, as he looked at her, but his ramen was different, Naruto said, as he looked at the sky and started to think back of the days that he first met Ichu. A young Naruto, flashback, was wandering in the streets of Konoha. It might be not have been bad for the young male if it hadn't been the fact that it was raining. He was staying at the house, but like so many nights, his home was currently full of branches of villagers looking for him. The young blonde held his stomach as it let out a slight rumble. It has been a while since the last time he had eaten, so at the moment he peeled was a greater than usual. He continued down the alleyway until he found a large bin full of trash. Naruto once again felt his stomach rumble. Silently bit his lip. Silently he knew it away. They shouldn't mind, Naruto thought as he began to look through the trash. Unknowing to the male, he was making a small amount of noise to attract the attention of the owner of the building. The elderly male with gray hair yawned as he heard a small amount of noise outside. He mumbled to himself as he got up and picked up a small broom. Damn pest, Ichi thought to himself. As he walked downstairs out of the building, he walked outside of the building, expect to find a rat or other pest that Konoha had. However, what he wasn't expecting was to find a young blonde looking through the trash. What are you doing? Ichi asked, looking at the male a little confused. When he asked this, Naruto jumped slightly and looked at him. Sorry, it was just that I'm hungry and I didn't think you wouldn't mind, Naruto said, a little timid, seeing the male in front of him. No, it's fine, Ichi said as he looked at the young male figure in front of him. It was a moment that Ichi started to recognize the young male. He wouldn't notice that on some days that particular boy would walk down the streets and would often take quickly glance at his shop. There were even times that he would start to walk over to the shop a little hesitant before walking away. Ichi would be lying if he wasn't a little curious about the male. Not because the fact that he often looked at his shop, but because he was always alone. Even now, as he looked at the blonde male in pouring rain, looking through the trash for something to eat, he was alone. How about you come inside and I make you something? It'll be better than eating from the trash, I promise, Ichi said, offering Naruto a kind smile. Naruto was a little uneasy at the male offering. After all, he had received the same offer before, and it had always ended badly for him. However, for some reason, this man didn't seem like the type of person to do that to him. So Naruto slowly nodded and accepted his offer. When he did, Ichi smiled and looked at him. Good, he said, and returned, began to walk inside to his restaurant. Naruto slowly followed the male into the building and sat on one of the seats that were in the store. Naruto waited patiently to watch the male in front of him start moving and several different things. Naruto started to tremble slightly, remembering what happened to him last time. Ichi would look over so often to make sure that the child was still there. However, every time he didn't notice something, when would look, he noticed that the small child would look away and avoid eye contact. Ichi let out a sigh. Seeing this, and after a few moments had passed, Ichi placed a bowl of ramen in front of him. Naruto and his terrified expression immediately faded and was replaced with a smile as he looked at the bowl of ramen in front of him. Enjoy, Ichi said with a smile as he watched the small child begin to eat. As Ichi looked at the small child eating the food placed in front of him, several thoughts passed through his mind. What is this child his age doing all alone at this time like this? Where are your parents and how could they be irresponsible? Ichi thought to himself as he looked at the young male. However, deciding he didn't want to cause any more troubles, he decided not to ask. As he watched a small child in front of him, eating the food of him, soon enough, Ichi saw a child lift his bowl and his lips, watching as the child began to drink as much a soup as he could, not leaving a drop behind as he would be his last meal. When the child was done, he placed the bowl down and grinned wide at all the child's white teeth. Slowly, Ichiraku smiled and looked at the boy in front of him. And the and this shows look at would like another bowl? Ichi said, looking at Naruto. When he asked this, the blonde smiled and nodded. Ichi took the young child's bowl. When he saw this, once again began to fill it with ramen. Naruto looked at the male in front of him that was helping him. He had never met anyone besides Iruka that offered to get him meal. The male then turned and once again placed a bowl in front of him, offered him a kind of smile. While doing so, Naruto once again smiled, seeing the food in front of him, and like before, to eat, Ichu smiled as he looked at the male and then outside. He noticed that it was still raining and sighed, "Wait there," Ichi said as he walked upstairs. Naruto once again felt a little uneasy. But his worries faded as he looked down at the bowl of ramen in front of him. Naruto continued to eat and, like before, raised a bowl to his lips so that he could drink the soup of the ramen. After he did, he heard footsteps and leaned over to Ichi walked down the stairs. The orange coat. It's still raining out, so I thought this might help you to dry, Ichi said as he offered Naruto the coat. Naruto looked at the coat for a moment before reaching out and took it. I know it's a little big for you, but I got it a while ago and haven't any use for it since, Ichi said as he looked at the male in front of him. Naruto felt a few tears building up in his eyes. Seeing this, he held the coat close to him. No one had ever been nice to him, yet this male had assumed would hate him. Sasuke said, "Knife, I order you to take off your mask." Knife, now why should I take off my mask? And you're nothing to me. You're weak. The only person I take orders are from my master. And my master used to live here. This village is so rotten, I wish I can destroy it. like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you, guys.